Kia ora tātou. Welcome everyone. I'm Ben Westerman, the Chair of Towncentre Taupō, and on behalf of the Towncentre Taupō Board and the Taupō Business Chamber, it's with warm thanks that we have all of you here. So many people turn up tonight for what is the business-focused meeting of our candidates. So a special welcome to those tuning in for the live stream. That was a little slight delay there. We had some techo issues, but we're all good to go. So welcome everyone at home. And thanks to Lockie and Temple Productions for putting that together, mate. To Joe Kyra from the Chamber and Julie McLeod and Alice from Towncentre Taupō and all the board members that have helped out tonight. Thanks, guys. TDC, thanks for the venue. It's great to have something like this that we can just jump straight into and bake with love and Liquorland for the refreshments tonight. And in the event of a personal emergency, you need to use the wharepaku or the toilets. You're out through the foyer and to the left. And if in the event of a fire, then you just follow me through that exit. And I'm guessing it's on across the other side of the cenotaph there. We can high-five the Anzacs on the way through. But on a lighter, if the unfortunate event does happen, look at the lighter side of that. I think if you looked around the crowds and spotted some of these prospective councillors considering their futures, knowing that they're going to have to deal with one hell of an insurance claim should they be successful. But speaking of candidates, I firstly just want to give all of you a huge congratulations. You know, whether we share their views, agree with them or otherwise, they need huge respect for stepping up and doing what they're doing, and they must have such passion for the Taupō district. So, haumai te paki for all of them. Tonight's questions have been structured around the business community by the Town Centre Board and the Chamber Board. There's 7 questions that our candidates have received a little while ago in advance. And we're going to give each of them 30 seconds to introduce themselves, which is a little bit of a change to the schedule team, but then 3 minutes to answer any or as many of the 7 questions that you've been given. So we just ask that you stick just to those topics that we've given you. And Jo Kyra can raise her hand. That's Jo from Chamber there. She will raise her hand at the 3-minute mark, when you've got 30 seconds left, and then she'll ring a bell or clap her hands or yell or something at the 3-minute 30 mark. So please respect the other candidates and stick to that time as best we can, and don't embarrass yourself by me coming and having to shoulder barge you off the lectern here. Our candidate order has been selected at random, and hopefully our candidates have all got this worksheet down the left-hand side as the order we're going in. We've got candidates from the 3 mayoral candidates, the Taupō Ward councillor candidates, and Te Papa Māori Ward candidates. We've left out the Mangakino Puakani, the Turangi-Tongariro, and our East Taupō Ward candidates, given the audience tonight for our Taupō business community. But obviously we wish all those other wards all the very best. I'd ask at the end of your 3.5 minutes if each of the candidates can introduce the next person on the list, because no one wants to see me get up 21 times. But to all of us here, we're simply here to hear the views of all these courageous candidates and the questions we've constructed. So please give them that respect. Listen, hear, understand and appreciate those views and opinions. But finally, we're all reasonably connected people, I hope, in the business community, so I just implore you to please reach out to all of your network contacts out there after this and make sure we get out there and vote before October the 8th. Good work. Make sure I get mine in before then. So with all that, all the best to all of you tonight. Looking forward to it, and if I could ask the first on the list to come up, David Trewavas. You.
Thank you, Ben, and kia ora and good evening, everyone. Lovely to see you all, Executive. Well done, and thank you for organising this wonderful evening. Time has started, I presume. It has been an absolute honour and an absolute privilege to have been your Mayor for the last 9 years. My vision will be continue to be the most prosperous and livable district in New Zealand. This district is going incredibly well, a AA plus credit rating 3 years in a row. We've won New Zealand's most beautiful town twice, but we still have work to do. I would like to prioritise the completion of the Taupo Airport and Mayoral House on time and on budget. Local businesses know me, and I believe you understand me. Investment in our surrounding areas, i.e. Turangi, Mangakino, is a must, and we must keep our sporting facilities up to an international standard. Farming and forestry will continue to get my full support through our Rural Committee. Elderly and seniors must feel safe in our community. Business, retail, and the industrial area must get our full attention. The greatest challenge for going forward is, I believe, that we all love our metropolitan lifestyle here with a small town feel. If you want calm, clear, consistent, inclusive leadership, vote for me. Once described as New Zealand's most lovable mayor, I would love to continue that mantra. Vote for me, hopefully. David, always the mayor for all. Thank you very much. Good evening. Sorry, Mr. Chair. Introduce the lovely Mrs. Christine Rankin.
Often they're not high enough for me. I apologise, I hope you can hear me. Hello everyone, I'm Christine Rankin and I've been a Taupoian now for nearly 8 years, but I was born in the South Island. I'm the daughter of a coal miner. I had a really tough childhood, but that gives you character and resilience and courage. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and I want to say to you, I don't work in Auckland, I'm not from Auckland, and I'm not interested in Auckland. I love Taupo. As you know, I've been the Deputy Mayor for the past 3 years, and on council here for 6, and I'm also a business coach. Leadership is my skill and my passion. You can't just be given the title and become a leader, because that damages everyone. I've been a leader since my mid-20s and I've been a chief executive for several organisations. I've owned a company that taught leadership and management, and I did a postgraduate study in leadership in the United States. I've also had a great deal of governance experience, both as a chair and a board member, but you can never do it alone. Leaders build teams and individuals within those teams. The stronger the individual, the stronger the team. You can't tell people what to do. It's about inspiring and nurturing and growing and caring and loving them. I believe the mayor is the leader of the district, whether it's council business or not. It's the mayor's responsibility to lead the response and get an outcome. It's not about council taking over central government's roles. It's about ensuring your community gets the very best. And examples of that are the overcrowding in our schools at the moment, the huge shortage of GPs, youth crime, and we do have a problem with youth crime in this town at the moment, and the list goes on and on. Another vital thing for the mayor to lead is a major response against homelessness, the homeless living in motels. Only today I was advised that 2 more motels have chosen to be involved. We cannot become Rotorua, and we can't sit by quietly and let it sneak up on us. I also intend to communicate with you by bringing in a range of interest groups around the table regularly. I'll also hold town hall meetings quarterly all over the district for the public. and we will give you lots of information, but I assure you we will be listening. Taupo has a sparkling future. We need to be seen as a growth district. We are not the retirement capital of New Zealand anymore. That's a lovely part of us, but it's not our core. We have so much potential in so many areas, and change is barreling down on us. And like it or not, leadership is vital during this process, or we will end up the little tail on a big dog. I am strong, I'm articulate, I'm smart, and I'm driven. I have very high energy, I do my homework, and I'm not afraid to fight for what's right. I have a national voice and strong relationships across the country, and I want to use that for the benefit of the district I love. Your vote has never mattered more. Thank you. Mr. Sean Wakelin, mayoral candidate, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I said it the other night at a meeting, and I'll say it again, but politicians like diapers should be changed regularly and for the same reason. Now, for anyone who heard it the other night, well, you're a good little citizen. Thanks for attending many of these meetings. It's good to see the turnout tonight. I believe it's more than we've expected. And it's wonderful when at the moment we're having a lot of communities around the country who have trouble fulfilling the positions, and here we've got a plethora of individuals putting up their hands, their time, their efforts to make Taupo, I'm not going to say great again, but to make Taupo better than where we find ourselves after the pandemic. Now, one of the questions here tonight was my vision for Taupo, and it's obviously similar to anyone in the room. If we've got passion for our area, we'd love to see it with rainbows and unicorns. How do we get there? What's ahead of us? That kind of future is not going to happen too quickly. My biggest concern looking forward at the moment for Taupo is that we become complacent. And once the tourist comes back, it's business as usual. What happens when that happens again? Any times that I do something with my children, if they touch a fire and they burn themselves, are we still there? Is that me? Cool. Okay. Sorry. Any time they do something and they burn themselves or they cause harm from that, I make sure we have a backup plan. What do we do next time? What's our alternative? But at the moment, to say let's encourage the tourists back, who's to say this isn't the first of many pandemics? Without scaremongering, let's look at how we can grow the town. Educational services. Can we bring another learning institution to town, perhaps a private one? Put the funding onto their backs instead of those of the rates payers. As far as the town centre itself goes, very, very concerned. As a 6'1", 120 kilos, and I'm losing it every day, Abner, Kiwi bloke, I walk downtown at night and I will cross the street and I feel cowardly for doing that, and I shouldn't have to. We need to make sure that our streets are safe. I spoke to a shop owner the other day who said that they've got a certain gang who many of you, if you've got business in town, may be aware of, very fashionably dressed because they've stolen it from your stores, going to the towns. Where's our truancy officer? Where are Māori wardens with interaction there? And why our school absenteeism at the moment? If you know anyone working in education, you'll know that children are dropping out and failing. How many kids right now in our town are that one morning waking up without having a meal before they say, if I'm going to go and join the gang my mates have been wanting me to get into? And these are our problems. So I'm not going to touch on things others do. It might not be your children, but it's your town. I said again the other day, if you've got a part of the garden you don't like, too bad, it's your garden. Either stop looking at it or do something about it. And we have to make these fundamental changes at the moment to make sure that we're a healthy destination. I don't mean healthy in as far as looking after our visitors, because I'm sure they're going to come by their droves and we'll build that back. It's in our nature, it's in our DNA. But as far as a healthy place for the people we attract here to live, a healthy place for our children to want to stay, and more importantly, a healthy place for people to do business. But none of this is going to happen without change. You can't continue on every day expecting change. You need to make it. And over a few beers on a Friday night, most of us have solved all the world's problems, only to have forgotten on the Saturday morning what we were talking about. But this is our 1 in 3 year chance where you can make that decision. Put the time, put the effort in. Vote for change. Vote for Sean for Mayor. Thank you very much. Our town centre with our beautiful roads are going to look wonderful, but what is a town without a park? And a park, ladies and gentlemen.
Well done. I was actually quite worried about what you were going to say, given the last couple of candidate evenings, to be quite honest. But thank you very much for putting on this evening. And can I just quickly please acknowledge former Mayor Clayton Stent and one of my favourite former Deputy Mayors, Barry Hickling, for being here this evening. Look, I'm really passionate and proud of our district, and I'm committed to the safety of our communities, the protection of our natural environment, the revitalisation of our local economy post-COVID, and ensuring resilient infrastructure. I'm a team player with a strong and very independent voice, as a lot of people will know, that wants all communities to thrive, and I'm always done so with integrity. I have twins at Taupo College and a daughter at Waipahihi RTS School, so I'm in touch and involved with what the future generation outlook and expectations are of the next generation, and believe me, they are very different from the past. I am a current Taupo councillor, and I'm here tonight to ask you to please give me my job back. One I absolutely love doing, not only for the district, but for each and every one of you. I've sort of merged all the questions, so bear with me for the next 3 minutes. Economically, after the initial level 4 lockdown, Brad Olsen from Infometrics gave us an economic outlet report. It was so dire, I couldn't even finish reading it. As it so happened, because Taupo has always relied on a higher domestic tourism visitor number than international, and everyone was busting out of their scenes to leave their homes, we bounced back okay at that time. And luckily, our GDP doesn't rely on one sector. We have 4 other very strong sectors who contribute greatly. So this enhanced and sort of brought us back some growth, and with the addition of some events coming back that could afford to run, things looked okay. Council staff were really agile during that lockdown, and with their hard work we secured 3 shovel-ready projects that have created way over 100 jobs. Curb and channeling in Turangi, shared pathway on the ETA from Whariwaka to Owen Delaney Park, and the Taupō Towncentre Transformation Project. This capital injection to the district of over $35 million has caused disruption. But gosh, it is going to position us so well going forward for what is coming at us now that the COVID traffic light system is gone and border and traveller freedoms are back in full force. Even better, that $35 million capital injection has come out of taxpayers' pockets, not ratepayers' pockets. That's a great saving for us going forward. Going forward, I will be and will continue to be a strong advocate for Council's continued investment and support of Amplify, who attract and work with new businesses, offer facilitation and support for existing businesses, and work with investors. Continued support for community funding rounds across the district for not only social, sports, arts and community groups, but continued partnerships for grassroots organisations who do a great job in their specialised space. For example, Towncentre Taupō, Bike Taupō, Greening Taupō, and Pathways for Youth Environment. Am I finished? Aww. Vote for Park. Thank you. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce one of my favourite councillor colleagues, John Williamson.
Okay, thank you. In recognition of Mayoral Language Week, karo katoa. Firstly, Taupo has been my home for 60 years, 3 daughters born and educated here, one of which is returning with a husband and 2 children, which touches on my vision of ensuring Taupo grows in a sustainable way for future generations. I feel I have an advantage of evolution from being a student, father, friend, businessman, councillor, and above all else, a member of this community. My daughter also reminded me that vision is not the exclusive domain of any particular generation. I was self-employed businessman for 40 years, a large part of that in retailing in Taupo, so I can identify the challenges and the importance of the business sector's success, both individually and collectively, to Taupo's economy, recognising the majority actually double ratepayers. That is also creating employment, stimulating growth, wealth and positive social outcomes. I have and will continue to support Taupō Town Centre, the Business Chamber, as well as DGLT and Amplifier, as I value these relationships very highly and regularly attend events and functions. What do you get from me? Sincerity, integrity, no gimmicks, no grandstanding. I'm a team player. I have the time, and very importantly, I have 9 years governance and co-governance experience on council. I'm currently chair of the Roads and Reserves Committee, and this whole of the environment portfolio, okay, environment's not part of it, they're very important to the sector of our community and contribute to our development. I also have representation on sports, arts and culture and music sectors. My style of engaging with the community and track record is getting out there, listening, learning and connecting with all sectors and building relationships with all our stakeholders and build a more resilient community. Priorities. Some immediate ones are focusing on the second bridge, implementing our housing strategy, conscious of the importance of developing adequate housing stocks to maximise social and economic outcomes as land is developed, managing and challenging the proposed central government reforms, specifically the Three Waters reform, and dealing with climate change, primarily reducing our carbon footprint. It is costing us currently, the emissions trading scheme, $1.8 million, probably next year $2.5 million, so we need to address that. I won't go into that, it's another conversation. And also the completion of the Taupō Town Centre Transformation project. A real focus for Council is forming collaborative private-public partnerships for investment to cater for facilities for all seasons, lessening the reliance on ratepayers. Challenges. Clearly, COVID has challenged us all for the last 2.5 years, but we have still experienced positive growth. The last thing we really need is negativity. In the future, our challenge will be managing growth in uncertain times. Sensible progress is essential, significant importance in developing and supporting a stable economy and business sector. This will require balancing financial, social, cultural and environment elements to achieve a sustainable outcome. To address factors, for example, demographic changes and the impact on our lake, and also health and educational issues. Taupo is an awesome place to visit. However, we needed to ensure it is an even greater place to live. Thank you. I seek your support for the forthcoming elections. I have great pleasure in introducing one of my favourite councillors, they're all favourites, Yvonne Westerman.
Having completed my first 3-year stint as a councillor, I am keen to put my name back in the hat for another term, so I would sincerely appreciate your support. My main reason for standing last term for council was that there was consideration to build the council building on my favourite car park next to McDonald's at the cost of about $38 million. You can imagine if that had have gone ahead, what the cost was over the last couple of years for the increase in building costs. So thankfully that got put on the back burner and we are now proceeding with a lease option, which I think is the better thing to do for our community. So moving on to one of the questions for the candidates is, what is your vision for the Taupo region? This is such an exciting question. I truly believe that Taupo is in a bubble compared to other parts of New Zealand. We have so much building and development happening in the town between private enterprises and council work, with projects like Royal House rebuild, the airport, Turangi Event Centre and playground, replacement of the Countdown building up in Spa Road, which will start happening next year, geothermal and solar plants, Mankakino Lakeside Park, plus many other things like the section sales that are happening out the southern end of town, the private plan change with another 780 sections that could go on the market in the next year or so. So the population growth in Taupo is huge. Council has also received millions of dollars from government for the Towncentre Transformation project, which should be completed later this year. Our lakefront will truly be a destination for local people and visitors, and they will enjoy a supreme event telling the amazing history of our area. The vision I have does involve a controlled and sustainable growth. Easier said than done. Obviously, there is the increase in the population. In our rental business that I manage, we are seeing a real shortage of accommodation. So another project for the council will need to be working on accommodation options. And we've already got some of that underway with affordable housing. Our town centre also needs to be protected to ensure that there is a hub for the shopping and dining and cafes that we have, and people continue to come to them. Parking is also another aspect for consideration to ensure that access to these businesses is easy for shoppers. Our district from Mangakino, Kinloch, Taupo and Turangi has so much to offer, and ensuring that it stays in the spotlight on a national and international stage is also key, and something that council, through their agency connections, need to continue to work with. And so as the world slowly comes right, Taupo is positioned favourably. Through my business skills in real estate and property management, rental skills and leasing, I believe I can help navigate some of the problems and help with the solutions for this busy growth ahead. I also love this saying, and it talks about vision. If you're working on something exciting that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you. I now introduce Duncan Campbell. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Duncan Campbell, a self-employed civil engineer, lived in Taupo for the last 6 years or so. 90% of my work is out of district, so no conflicts of interest to clear. I choose to stand for three reasons, really. Address overspending, as I see it, lack of communication with residents, and third, current threats from central government. Which brings me to one of the questions on the list. I would say in the absence of Lake Taupo volcano blowing up again, or some other major natural disaster, or even a climate emergency, or so-called, this upcoming financial situation or crisis, depending how it pans out, is quite possibly the biggest challenge this district, the country, will be facing in the next 50 years. There is, of course, this overblown bureaucracy of three waters looming right now, with undoubtedly a super amalgamation of all the smaller councils to follow along with the rate hikes that go with it. And as a former employee from Auckland Super City, I can tell you that whatever local influence or little of it that you thought you have now may seem wonderful in hindsight if that happens. Now, as to my vision for the Taupo region, I won't get too gushy because I am, after all, a cynically minded engineer. But I will say one thing, and this as a traffic engineer who has worked in large cities most of my life, I just have a sense that those planners in the local council want you to get out of your car, if you hadn't realised it by now. And I have a feeling they much would rather you walk or bike or catch the bus that goes past your house every hour or two, and would probably be quite happy to hold off on any new bridge north of town until you get so fed up that you decide to take those other options, or even to the day that driverless cars come about and you might not even need to own a car at all. But that idea of getting a new and better connection to north of town is something I would take an interest if I got voted in, because for one thing, I have some ideas about using the existing Control Gates Bridge to get another traffic lane to and from town, or at least try to look at putting a structure over the top. And there are indeed some tricky ways of doing something like this, and that can include the use of tidal flow traffic lanes, which have been used successfully for a long time in some parts of Auckland. Now challenges like this are city problems. You can't really expect a provincial place like Taupo to have any experience in doing. And I do say with some conviction that without someone without that sort of city experience at the helm, then you can end up just going round in circles with hired consultants, and which I see happens here from time to time. And take it from me, transport projects done badly can be a really big sinkhole for oodles and oodles of cash, and not much benefits. Apart from that, I think a new tech institute of some sort will be a good thing to help fill a generation gap of opportunities and keep more of the 20s back in town. And more schools. A big deterrent to any parents moving to any provincial place, I think, is definitely the schooling question, and that will affect getting staff for your new business as well. And now it's time for Craig Greenwood, I think. Thanks.
Thank you and good evening. Thank you for Taupo Chamber of Commerce to organise this, and for people watching online and for all of you to participate. This is great. I want Taupo to be the best town and the best place to live and work. I'm standing against three waters. Any central government takeover, we need to be tough on crime and have a safe district where both talent and business can thrive. Some of our major challenges that I see going forward are inflation, cost of living, lack of housing and staffing, and the ageing population, which is supposed to double in the next 20 years. All these things need to be tackled in the coming years, but they're not easy to solve. But with your help and the right team, we can. Sorry, the light, I can't see my paper. Get it right? Here we go. Right, so I'm not going to stand in front of you tonight and tell you a lot of the things that we could do, like a wish list. Rather than that, because I can't guarantee if any of that can be done because I'm only one vote. But what I can do is congratulate all of you that are in business today. You're the heart and soul of the community, and it takes guts to be in business, and it's bloody hard work. Council needs to make sure it operates efficiently and it encourages business to thrive, and now and in the future. I've been in business all my life, and I know what it's like to wake up in the middle of the night not knowing if you've got enough money to pay the wages or the rent. But the world needs people like you, because we can all make a difference. I remember when doing a business plan, it might be on your napkin, it might be on a 20-page document or in your head, and you work it out, but as time goes on, things change. And you realise that different situations arise, and you have to adapt to those situations. And I think council's a bit like that. Council's a big business, there's a big long plan, but for the next 3 years up and coming, we can't even imagine right now what the decisions it's going to have to make. It needs strong council team, strong leadership to make those decisions responsibly, and the skills and information of real world experience. Decisions that you, your children and your grandchildren will be proud of. We need to make those hard decisions for the future in mind, not only to help business, but the community as a whole. The community thrives when business thrives. Some of you know me and the skills that I can bring to council. I'm a qualified director. I've been on many boards, a great leadership and team player. You have a great opportunity to be part of something special here, to elect a great team so the district can prosper for all the generations to come. It's not how many resources council have or how much money the council has, but what it does with it that really counts. You're all here because you're passionate about business, but you don't just aspire to make a living, you aspire to make a difference, and that's why I'm standing for council. Vote for Craig Greenwood for the future of Taupo. Thank you. And now it gives me great pleasure to welcome our next speaker, Jane Arnott.
Thank you, everybody, and welcome. So, I want to talk about leadership for a moment, because leadership isn't about status and power or wealth. And it's not about what I tell you. It's about what others see in me and what they acknowledge, the strategies that I've brought about, the vision that I've had, and the results that I've delivered for a whole range of different groups and people. So my leadership was acknowledged when I became a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit for my advocacy and for my service. It's acknowledged when professional bodies turn to me to provide ethical leadership training, business ethics, professional ethics. Engineering New Zealand, 26,000 members, I'm contracted to them. Financial Advice New Zealand, 16,000 members, they too have turned to me. I regularly do submissions like the NZX Corporate Governance Review, and so that whole area of leadership and ethics is entrenched in how I see myself and what I deliver to you, because you deserve the ethical component that sits behind leadership. My publication on ethical leadership in New Zealand was launched by the New Zealand's High Commissioner in London. It's had several reprints and it's been launched in New Zealand by Kensington Swan. But on a practical level, leadership also comes down to values, building trust and loyalty. And I know that this election for you is really going to challenge a lot of your loyalties. You've grown up with some of the people in this room who are already councillors. You know them. And it is going to be a huge challenge for you. And maybe there are aspects of a conflict of interest where you don't want to break that loyalty, but then is it time to give someone new the opportunity who brings in a different skill set and a vision which is aligned with you? It just gets delivered in a different way. Now, I just want to show you this. So this is my retail shop that I had a long time ago, Platinum Records. I was head of the promotions committee, and I so understand what it is for business when it rains and no one comes into town. I know what it is for business when the inflation changes the nature of how that business operates. The two record shops that I owned with my husband a long time ago, he's not there anymore, were so important to me, and I lived and breathed. But I knew promotions. I knew the advantage of overcoming what could be a dull day and transforming it into an exciting day where people came into the town through carnivals, through processions. What I see at times here is a sense of silos where we aren't bringing in the other aspects of the business that we have. Why don't we have a pet parade? Why don't we have musical carnivals? Why don't we have initiatives that bring people to town? And the other thing about business is I want people to think local, be grounded local, but also be global. Right now, just a few moments ago, there was a social media. MB Century is in Jakarta right now, locally here, but celebrating their business in Jakarta. We can all do that. Is it over? Thank you. Oh, that's quick, isn't it now? And I need to introduce the next speaker, and that is going to be the man who might arrest you if you don't give him his vote, the one and only Kevin Taylor.
I might have, but I'm retired, so you're off the hook. Ngā me nui, kia koutou, ko Kevin Taylor aho. My name's Kevin Taylor. I moved here with my wife Raywin in 1992, and we've raised our 5 children here in Taupo. My vision is unchanged from 3 years ago, that we have a safe, sustainable and inclusive district. Safe in our homes, on our roads and in our community. Not only that people are safe, but they feel safe as well. Sustainable in how we manage our resources, both natural, physical development around town, fiscal and people, and inclusive to represent those in our community who do not have a voice. In terms of the town centre, protecting and sustaining, apart from what is already happening with the town centre transformation, which I remain committed to seeing completed on time and within budget, there are 2 things. Firstly, I remain staunchly opposed to any planning changes that would suck the lifeblood of retail out of the town centre. You just need to look at Rotorua and Whakatane as examples of how not to do that. Secondly, the current security issues being faced with rogue elements around town. In my background, I've already approached Taupo Police, and there are some practical things that we can do now. It's not dependent upon this election. It doesn't need to wait. I'm happy to discuss it with anyone after this session. Decision making. My training and work experience has taught me to make informed decisions based on evidence. I'm not afraid to ask questions or to challenge the status quo. And this is even more important in the age of disinformation we live in, where everyone with an iPhone and an internet connection is a world expert. I will continue to be widely and well read on housing. I'm acutely aware of the housing situation in Taupo and the effects it is having. Along with Yvonne Westerman, we've been deeply involved in the development of the housing strategy. This is right down to attracting potential significant investors to town. And the other issue is getting our short-term accommodation policy settings right to potentially unlock some rental stock. In terms of leadership and governance, I've just spent 3 years learning the ropes on this council. That was a steep learning curve. Prior to that, 44 years in the police, and many of those in senior positions. And I'm currently have not-for-profit sector governance experience. For me, it's all about service. If service is below you, leadership is beyond you. So 50 years from now, we're going to suffer ongoing growing pains. We're currently transitioning from a small provincial town to a large centre. 2 key things spring to mind: keeping pace with change and ensuring we hand the next generation a district that is well preserved on all fronts, environmentally, structurally, economically and socially. And you can go to my Facebook page because there's lots more stuff there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for organising it. And I now welcome James Nottage to the stage.
Hi Taupo, I am James Nottage and I am proud to be running for the Taupo District Council. I am a proud dad, homeowner and business owner enjoying all that this town has to offer. We need to work hard to make sure that we both attract and keep our skilled professionals here in Taupo. From doctors to trades to hospo professional. Taupo is an amazing place to live, work and play. And we need to scream that message loud by partnering with organisations like Amplifier, TCT and Chamber. Now I see Taupo being the perfect place to both have a lifestyle and a professional career. If COVID has taught us anything, that we can work remotely. And that's why we need to attract new people to our town, which in turn means more people shopping locally with you. The airport upgrade is an amazing asset, but I feel that we need to look into more flight options, giving people the ability to fly into Auckland or Wellington and be in the middle of town by 9 a.m. and then back home to Taupo by 6. This will attract people who work in these areas to possibly make Taupo home. As well as attracting new business to town, which is always a positive. I believe it is important that we look after our current business owners with regular engagement and to not be afraid to ask them their thoughts and advice on now and future projects. Like Winston Churchill said, the difference between mere management and leadership is communication. Communication is key, and this is something that I have been hammering on about since the start of my campaign, but it is something that needs to be a priority. We need to talk and engage to our business community. We need to improve our communication, and that is why I want to host monthly after our catch-ups for all to attend, with notes taken on each meeting so that we can take your concerns back to the council table. Now, I am pro for the security of our town. This means keeping both people and property safe by lighting up alleyways and industrial roads and upgrades to CCTV, also partnering with police and local community organisations to keep our community safe. You, your staff, and your customers need to feel safe. We have experienced ram raids and gang violence on our streets, and yes, I agree, lighting and CCTV upgrades alone won't stop the true criminals, but we can help police prosecute and hopefully deter. Up until recently, I was a board member of Towncentre Taupō, where I worked closely with local businesses to ensure our CBD was well represented. I have worked with many of you here in some way or form, and you know that I am a straight shooter, no BS kind of guy. If elected, my door is open, and I will make sure that you are heard, your concerns are addressed, and take on your advice. I've been told by many current councillors your first term is like an apprenticeship, so I hope that you can give me the honour to serve and learn from you all and become your councillor. So let your voice be heard and vote James Nottage. Now, I'm going to take on a bit of a Sean here. What's a sheep farm without a shepherd? I now introduce Rachel Shepherd.
Yes, I'm Rachel Shepherd. I'd just like to thank Towncentre Taupō and the Taupō Business Chamber for putting the event on tonight. I'm very glad to be here, and I'll touch on as many of the provided questions as 3 minutes will allow. My vision for the Taupō region is for a resilient, sustainable community where all residents can prosper. This vision is what will influence my decision-making if elected to council. The priority must always be what's best for the communities within the district. To achieve this vision, we need to continue to emphasise the importance of supporting local business. We need to think globally, but act locally for a more sustainable and resilient local business community. My line of work in commercial property management has me engaging with local businesses in the CBD on a daily basis. I understand that retail particularly is finding it tough with inflationary pressures affecting how people spend their money, or don't spend their money, as the case may be. I'm also involved in commercial and industrial property development, so I have a fair amount to do with the trade businesses as well. That kind of regular engagement and feedback received is what will allow me to advocate effectively at the council table when decisions need to be made. It will be you as business leaders working at the coalface who will have the insights needed to navigate our way through some potentially very challenging times. It is difficult, if not impossible, to think 10, 20 or 50 years ahead when some businesses are struggling to take their next breath. We need true collaboration and partnership between local businesses and council to achieve the outcomes we need for our district to prosper. And genuine consultation is the key to all of that. Staff and housing shortages are the result of a much bigger picture, of course, but there are things that we can do at a local level to help alleviate some of those pressures. Further encouragement of the Taupō Pathway initiative and guiding our youth into careers via work experience and apprenticeships, for example. I'd also like to see even greater involvement at a local level to help link people of all ages into gainful employment. Taupō is a beautiful place. It affords a certain lifestyle. People want to live here. It's one thing to attract the people here, but they need a home to live in. I know that council are actively looking to open up more land for development in collaboration with iwi and private developers. How this continues to move forward will be affected by the proposed changes to the RMA. So we'll need to watch this space and as to how land can be used going forward and how well the policies are written to best meet the needs of our district. Governance is like the workings of a clock. Many cogs working together to keep everything ticking along. The two main cogs, as I see them, are community and business. If business is thriving, then community is thriving. Likewise, if community is thriving, business is thriving. The two are intrinsically linked. It takes a village, as they say, and I believe the role of local governance is to support the village. Thank you. I would now like to invite Rod Hanson to the podium.
Thanks, Rachel. So I'm Rod Hanson. I migrated here 2 years ago from Hawke's Bay. I come from a farming background through to business background and also have many years in compliance and law enforcement spread over a couple of government agencies. I just want to bounce straight into some of these questions because they answer a whole lot of other things. One of them is about what leadership experience do you bring and enable to make a difference. I think having had former business experience both nationally and internationally, compliance and law enforcement experience and owning my own business has given me a pretty good insight. I've had former council governance experience elsewhere, outside Taupo obviously. And I understand the function of council, standing orders, and the need to be a team of 12 and have robust debate within the rules. I know the difference between governance and operations. At council, it is a fine line and one that many new candidates cross due to lack of understanding. There's another question about what do you believe the greatest challenges facing our district in the next 50 years? A big one obviously is sustainable infrastructure that allows for growth without impacting negatively on the community, environment or local government, local economy, sorry. Last night I was told that the bridge was not a problem during school holidays. I didn't know that school was open on long weekends and public holidays when the cars are backed up to Wairaki trying to get into this place. With 700 sections or more proposed for Pouhipi Road, hundreds currently going into Kinloch, the new lifestyle village planned for Acacia Bay, 300 people to build it, 200 to staff it, ongoing development on Mapara Road, all our industries and suppliers for these products that are going to be used are all based this side of the bridge. So that's going to cause some major issues going forward. And that's right from the concrete up. Everything's over here. And, you know, let's get real. At the moment, the concrete firms, if they're going out to Kinloch, they go down the expressway, they cross over at Wairaki and they go up through Links Road. They're not going to want to go round to Wairaki to go out here. It's just not a reality. And that's going to be the same for all the material providers. So, yeah. The other thing I think about that is if you want people to visit and shop in the town centre, they have to be able to get there. It's as simple as that. I guess another question would be what would be the commitment to protect and sustain business in the town centre? That's real easy. Town centre has got to be exactly that, town centre. We heard it from over here before about what Whakatane have done. There's many other examples. Hastings have done it. Built a great big shopping centre mall out of the main CBD, shifted Briscoes, shifted Harvey, Noel Leemings, shifted numerous other firms out there, and suddenly your business centre starts to die. We must protect that core hub in central Taupō, otherwise we'll fall over. And we're very vulnerable to it. Thank you. I'll leave it at that. So I'll introduce the next person, Bustini.
I'll do my own time. Kia ora koutou, good evening everyone. I'd like to thank the Taupō Business Chamber and the Towncentre Taupō for this opportunity, and I'd like to thank you all for willing to be informed before you cast your votes. My name is Aladdin. I am a former business owner, I'm a corrections officer. I was born in Jordan. Taupō has been home for me and my wife Cynthia for the last 13 years. Talking about skills and what set of skills you bring with you, I bring diversity, for example. As a former business owner, I have good understanding of the struggles and concerns of local businesses. As a corrections officer, I bring a set of values and skills as well. Integrity, teamwork, empathy, leadership skills, communication, and above all, a deep sense of loyalty to the community. I'm going to be answering your questions, but in a more of a general way, because I don't claim to have all the answers. I believe that I need to get the job first, have a good communication with the community, and then you'll help me find the answers. Our district has a great potential of becoming a preferred business destination. Our lake and the thermal energy are great gifts that we need to look after while we grab the opportunity to thrive wisely and responsibly. A commitment to look after our district and build a better place for our future generations cannot be achieved without a strong, stable local economy. I acknowledge the efforts made by organizations like Towncentre and the Business Chamber and other frameworks that we can build on and improve. But a strong partnership with our local businesses and a clear understanding of our local communities' needs and aspirations is the only way for us to get our priorities right. I am not a business expert, but then again, only few of us are. But our collective knowledge, expertise, and our collective opinion will help us find more answers to issues facing local businesses today, like staff shortages and the lack of infrastructure needed to welcome potential workers. Multinational corporations are important partners to any economy, but we also need to consider the occasional unfair competition against our local businesses. We also need to have a serious discussion around the negative impact that of the huge online overseas market on our businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got like 20 seconds left. Our local economy is not separate from the global economy. The future doesn't necessarily look bright on the global level. With wars, pandemics, climate change becoming a challenging reality every day. But we are capable of building our own resilience and preparing to a tough tomorrow together. Let me be your voice. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to introduce one of my favorite candidates, Mr. Daniel Gray.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you to the Chamber, Business Chamber and the Town Centre for putting this venue on. I've lived here in Taupō for a few years now, and I have two businesses. My wife has one and I have the other. So we know firsthand the frustrations, especially with the lack of staff. One of my visions for Taupō is that I believe we should promote Taupō as a destination and not a pit stop. However, for this to happen, we need to be ready. I personally believe that we are not, given that the motels are currently heavily booked, especially with the homeless in some, and I just heard from Christine tonight that there's more. It's depressing. We need to accommodate travellers so that they spend their money here. We cannot just rely on locals to support business and the community in general. Many of our business owners I have spoken with are concerned at the increase of youth crime, intimidation from the homeless, and now ram raid, all of which affect on our patronage. Taupō needs to rid of such behaviour, as this is not a safe place and a good look for our beautiful town. On the 9th of September last, after speaking to the owners at Paitiki Shopping Centre over their concerns with the drinking of alcohol, urinating on the footpaths and intimidation from undesirables, to the extent that the cases where individuals were coaxing the elderly to take money from their account out of the ATM machines. This is appalling. So I wrote to Council on their behalf and asked them to place a liquor ban on the area. No surprises, I haven't received an acknowledgement even of my letter yet. Clearly, the harsh reality of Council is that is why our town is in the state with the youth that it is. We, the community, need to address these serious problems, come to solutions and demand Council to act in accordance with the outcomes. I love stories. With regards to the hospital, I feel for the elderly when it comes to the hospital in particular. Our community is big enough that we should have our own MRI unit. We have a CT scan up and running. Thanks, Christine. And I will push like hell to get it. I will also push for our share of the doctors, nurses and specialists that are coming to New Zealand through the apparent government allocation scheme. I will also fight central government on any legislation that challenges our plans to have our hospital operating at a level that other towns will envy. I also oppose Three Waters. Regarding my leadership skills, I have managed and owned businesses in the building, electrical, hotel and kitchen industries for a number of years. So I have the knowledge and skills that is required to be a councillor. When a problem arises, I deal with it immediately. It does no good to let things fester, as currently the case. I know how to fight for betterment and to deal with people who do not perform. Vote for Danny Gray. Thank you now, and I hand you over to Veronica King.
Kia ora koutou katoa. Taupo has proudly been my home for 32 years. I'm blessed with 6 children and 24 grandchildren. One of the reasons why I'm choosing to stand. As a previous council employee of 10 years, I do have some understanding of how council works, and I have heard and understood community hope. In its basic form, I have heard communities say they just want to be happy, to be in a position to earn a decent income, to enjoy safe recreation, opportunities to learn, to support the safety of their families from birth to retirement, and a place to realise their dreams. They are hoping that Taupo is that place. This may mean warmer, healthier, affordable housing that accommodates demographic need and diversity, educational opportunities. Younger generations have a choice to remain in the district for higher learning availability. Integrated business opportunities, small, medium and large industry. Injections of social enterprise as another idea. Supported infrastructure to allow for increased major events, be it sport, social or cultural innovative value. I want to see business in and doing business, because without it, many opportunities would be lost. This will ultimately impact on family and ultimately community well-being. Historically, farmers are known as New Zealand's backbone. This may be true, but localised business is the actual driver of community well-being, providing opportunities, income potential and realised prosperity, entrepreneurship and innovation. I believe we need to build in balance across all sector areas, always taking into consideration the uncertainty of changing environments. But we need to do it through responsible stewardship and accountability. We have a long-term plan. We can add and build on its capacity, tweaking where and when issues might show up that will drive or impact on future growth and development of Taupo. The prioritisation of authentic engagement through regular communication with all sectors of community and a focus on localism is something I will be adamant on. We will meet on a regular basis with key representation and entities such as Towncentre Taupō, Taupō Chamber of Commerce, DGLT, Amplify Women in Business, education sector, and of course, iwi initiatives in business and industry. Advocacy is another area that matters to me, not only around the local table, but the LGNZ entity, for stronger representation and conversation with central government, ensuring your local business and community voice is engaged and heard and listened to. I have been on various boards and executive management teams, local and national, in the social sector, managed NGOs and FPs entities, currently sitting on a government department panel, facilitated community engagement, strategy and plans within the welfare function of CD emergency management, supported and facilitated governance management trainings, and the toughest and most demanding of governance learning was the management of raising a family of 6 and now inputting into 24 grandchildren. So I have a heart for Taupo, so a vote for me means I will work and serve you with integrity of time and heart. And I'd like to introduce Chris Mercer. Kia ora.
Evening, everyone. I'm sure we're sick of it by now. So yeah, as Veronica touched on, I'm Chris Mercer, Taupo born and bred. But yeah, like most of the people in the room, I'm a local businessman, business mentor and accountant. Proud to have moved back to Taupo 6 years ago to start my business. When I was looking at doing that, there was nowhere else in the country I thought I'd want to do it. There's nowhere better than Taupo. There's nowhere better to clock off at 5 o'clock than Taupo. And I'd really like to see Taupo strive to become the most livable and the best place in the country for us to do business. But we've got a lot of challenges to get there. As somebody who's been looking at hiring people for the last 4 years of my business journey almost constantly, the biggest challenge we come up with again and again and again is the lack of housing, the struggles to get their kids into a school and all that sort of stuff. It's the same issues time and time again. And those issues aren't going to be going anywhere unless we start to advocate with central government for better funding of our schools, for newer schools in our suburbs that are growing very fast, like out Whare-Waka and across in Nukaho. We need those better connections. We also need to be advocating for better public transport to make getting into the CBD easier and to make commuting by public transport an actual viable alternative to driving in every day. There's a lot of work that we need to do in those spaces. The CBD is the beating heart of the Taupo district, but there are some really big challenges in terms of marrying up the need to diversify our economy with the fact that we have a really constrained CBD that does need a lot of investment and does need a lot of growth. If we want to be attracting big new business to town, they need somewhere to call home. And there's a real lack of A-grade office space in the CBD. There's a massive shortage of infrastructure to connect us to the rest of the country, like James touched on. We just don't have the business-friendly connections with flights and things like we used to. I missed the 6:30 a.m. flight out of Taupo. That made it easy to go do business and bring that wealth back to Taupo with all the money from all those Aucklanders. So we do need to focus on a lot of those different issues to make Taupo the most livable town. It's great being a pretty town, but we need to solve those practical problems as well that make us a really great place to do business and a great place to live permanently, not just visit for a long weekend. So hopefully you can put me on council and we can start taking some of that business voice there and bring some business sense to the council table and hopefully solve some of those practical problems that make this pretty town a difficult place at times. Thank you. Now David Young's turn.
Tēnā koutou, ko Daniel Young, toko ingoa. Don't hold it against me, I'm sorry, I'm from Auckland. I'm one of those many Aucklanders that have moved down there and now call Taupo home. I've lived in Taupo for coming up 20 years. I live here with my wife. She's originally from Turangi, born and raised, and she is half Cook Island, half German, which means I get fed well and everything's well organised. We're parents of 3 beautiful children. I volunteer for my church where I'm an area leader, and I'm a volunteer basketball coach for the last 5 years at a few of the skills. Our kids go to Taupo Nuitia, Tauhara College, and also Hilltop. So the question I'd like to answer is, how would you engage with local businesses? Well, ladies and gentlemen, for the last 5 years, I've engaged with employers and providing support in a number of ways and finding staff. So just a little bit of background, I'm a work broker, so I work for central government and I help people find jobs. So I'm all about employment. I've helped them find financial support, being a good listening ear. So this is something I'm already doing with a range of industries in Taupo, Turangi and Mangakino. I have a strong relationship with Amplify, the economic agency for the Taupo district. Their opening statement on their website states, "Our vision is that Taupo is a vibrant and prosperous district where both talent and business thrive." Everyone in this room would agree business is the heartbeat of a town. Without businesses, there is little growth. The last 2.5 years have been brutal for businesses, with some surviving and some not due to COVID-19. I've helped many employers through some of those tough times, especially the initial strict lockdowns. I kept in regular contact with many business owners to ensure they felt supported and listened to. I want to see businesses thrive. I would engage by finding out what issues, barriers and solutions can be found to help struggling businesses. I have worked with Amplify on a range of projects and initiatives that has created jobs and put some of our most vulnerable people into employment that has helped those whānau become independent and more financially stable. we need to look at how we can train and retain staff for our local businesses so that staff have good career opportunities. When businesses are successful, the region is successful. I have had interactions recently with an employer who is looking at growing their business from 10 staff to over 80 by building on their current site, hiring and training local Turangi rangatahi to give them career opportunities. This will enable these rangatahi to stay in Turangi and to not have to leave the area to opportunities they wish to pursue that are available elsewhere. I've worked and would continue to work with iwi hapu on employment-focused projects that have connected local businesses with projects that have been successful for all parties involved. We are seeing this happen with the current $900 million project at the Tauhara geothermal project currently being built. There's great things happening in Taupo, and I look forward to continue being part of it moving forward. I have no hidden agenda. Connect, collaborate, commit. Vote Daniel Young. Our next person is Dave Davies, who is standing for the Māori electorate.
Thank you to the Taupo Centre and also the Business Chamber of Taupo. My vision for Taupo region is one of growth and stability where we all can boldly stride into the future, harnessing technologies that have benefited societies in other places while ensuring we do not lose our culture, identity and way of life. We have some issues about the growth to address first, namely infrastructure and planning. The Taupo District Plan is now under a review as recommended by the outgoing Resource Management Act, and the upgrade of infrastructure will be high on the list of things to do. The proposed new subdivisions sprouting up on our northern boundaries will require a bridge over the Waikato River and an extension to the present infrastructure for wastewater management and water supply. We need new infrastructure as soon as possible so as to not hinder the growth we are expecting in the district. One of the proposals I have is the rezoning of rural land to residential, so more homes can be built. My overall aim is to improve the housing situation for our local people and relieve the pressure on existing housing supply. This will enable more people to come, live and work in Taupo, thereby easing the staffing issues that businesses have. Rezoning of other lands will provide space for commercial businesses, universities and polytechs and high schools, so we do not lose our younger generation who leave Taupo for opportunities elsewhere. As a small business owner, I understand the needs of local businesses and the concerns of everyday people. I understand the need to help people explore options not obviously considered. My purpose is to help find win-win situations for everyone, and I am willing to sit down and listen to all parties, because communities need businesses and businesses need community. The world is fast becoming digitalised, with social media now as important as traditional media. Digitalisation changes the way we communicate, the way we share our culture, and the way we do business. These changes can bring massive benefits to our society. Taupo needs to embrace digitalisation at every level of society, regardless of age, industry or community, to be ready to harness the power that being connected to the rest of New Zealand and the world can bring. We need to work together to ensure that everyday folks can benefit by knowing how to best use the digital realm safely and confidently. Because of my extensive travels overseas doing business, I have seen many good practices from other parts of the world, and have also seen many well-intended plans that ultimately did not succeed. Those experiences gave me insight as to how to manage limited financial resources, especially in the wake of COVID-19. 35 years in the construction industry gave me experience in management and design in both the domestic and commercial market. And I often worked as a consultant who had to come up with solutions to challenges on site. Vote for me so I can make a difference and be involved in the shaping of the future communities of Taupo. Thank you. It's my pleasure to welcome on board, where is he? Danny Laughlin.
Kia ora tātou, ko Danny Laughlin taku ingoa, he mihi nui kia koe. Thank you, Towncentre Taupō and Taupō Chamber of Commerce. I used to help out with Taupō Chamber of Commerce as a young man last century. Taupō District Council's vision is to be the most prosperous and livable district in the North Island by 2022. I think it's a perfectly fine vision, but is being the best of a bad bunch ambitious? If we want to be prosperous, we need to embrace technology, we need good public works, and we need to invest in our town centre. We need safe communities, whether you're whānau or a business owner. If we want Taupō to be livable, we need to do more for the environment, which means we have to stop polluting Taupō Moana. We must find a balance between growth and the tourism sector and the needs of locals who call the Taupō district home. We do need more sports facilities for our youth and quality education, and we need to listen. So you need good governance experience if you wanted to deliver this vision. Over the years, I've served our community on the boards of our Māori health provider, on the primary health organisation we brought low-cost doctor fees to our district, and during my 6 years on the Lakes District Health Board, where we improved the hospitals in Rotorua and Taupō, including our emergency ward here. I've been a trustee on the Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board for 16 years. The board is the legal owner of Lake Taupō, its tributaries, and the Waikato River to Hooker Falls. I am Tūwharetoa's representative of the Waikato River Authority, which is co-governance for the Waikato River. Should have said Tūwharetoa Māori Trust Board is one of the investors that's building Council's new building. I'm a member of the Institute of Directors and one of the few candidates here with a formal finance background. I've recently served on Taupō District Council's Risk and Assurance Committee, and as I said before, Council should not be your first major governance role. This should not be your first rodeo. We need to fix our housing shortage if we're going to fix our staff shortage. Taupō District Council has a housing strategy. I agree, we need to work with Kaingaroa, we need to provide more infrastructure for sections, and it may mean that we have to have section sales to help fund this. But some of those sections do need to be affordable, so we need to look at shared equity like they do in Queenstown and how, like Council is actually looking at, we need to have more permissive rules if we need to encourage, community housing trusts to this town. That's me. I would like to introduce Karen Fletcher. He's done a great job over the last 3 days as MC for the Tūwharetoa Taupō with amazing kapahaka performances from our schools in the kura in our district. Homai te pakipaki.
A ka whati te whati sirika hiko te uire ki te tehi Taupo-Kaingaroa. Kia tuaka au ngā kōrero ko tūpuna i te matanga kōrero a ti hei mauri ora. E whai whakaro ki rātou ko ngaro i te tironga kanohi ki rātou ko wheturangi tia haere hoki atu. Noho tonu ko te whānau biru ki te mātamu o whakaro i tēnei wā ki taku anku moi mai rā i tō moi ngā rua. Hoki mai anō ki a tātou te hunga ora ko pai nei ti hei te mauri o te ora. Whakarau ika mai raro i te tuanui o tēnei whare o tātou ko Karen Fletcher. I stand before you unapologetically Māori. I am incredibly proud of my culture, my heritage, our economic contribution to the district, and our language as we continue to celebrate Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori. My vision for the district is intergenerational. If your aspirations for the district are centred around you and you alone, then a vote for me is probably wasted. My family have worked the lands of the Taupō district even before the township of Turangi was established. In fact, the township itself was named after my eponymous ancestor, Turangi-Tukua. Every generation's decisions have 100% impacted myself and my opportunities, which is why I'm mindful of every decision I make and the impact it will have on every generation thereafter. Because of this, I prioritise the future-proofing of our district. Sustainability for our environment, ensuring that my great-grandchildren can enjoy a summer's dip in a clean Lake Taupō or doing bombs from the V-tree at the Tongariro River. However, I also understand the advancements of technology, understanding the impacts of Web 3, AR, VR, AI, the metaverse, and the business opportunities that come with it, better connecting local businesses to the world. I pride myself on my communication skills with a background in Māori media, which I know will help to foster relationships within the chamber and with local businesses. I believe in creating no excuses working environments where your only limitation is your imagination, putting the onus back on local businesses where the responsibility for their sustainability lies with them and them alone. I genuinely believe that tūwharetoa entities are grossly underutilised and more can be done to foster collaborative relationships with the Taupō District Council. Our TFT, TMTB, TST, Te Kotahitanga, Te Paiawaimihia. There are a plethora of tūwharetoa entities that are growing exponentially with zero interest of selling assets offshore, who aren't going anywhere and who share the same views as I do around intergenerational change. My fellow candidates have talked a lot about increased crime being a big challenge facing our district, with a view of being tough on criminals. As a facilitator in the prison systems that work to rehabilitate our prisoners, I can tell you from experience, the majority of the men I encounter are dealing with heavy intergenerational trauma. The question should be more directed around how we heal said traumas and improve the probability of success within their tamariki and their mokopuna. If you're still unsure if I'm the right person for the job, as a bit of a flex, I actually just wrote this speech on my phone while I was waiting for my turn to stand. Sometimes it pays to be last. Ko Karen Fletcher tōku ingoa, te papa mā rea rea, Māori Ward for the Taupō District Council. Kia ora.
Wow, well done everyone. I think we give all those 21 candidates another big round of applause. That was awesome. I think if we can even harness a fraction of all these great ideas and initiatives that we've heard tonight, Taupō is going to be in a great place for the next 3 years. So I encourage everyone out there to spread the word, make sure we're voting, because these voting, the rates need to be right up there if we're going to have any success in achieving any of these initiatives that our candidates have said tonight. So thanks everyone for coming. It was a great turnout. Thanks to everyone that's helped out. And everyone have a good night. Kia ora.